Have you ever had that moment with your own teenage child where all of your power and control didn't work? Where they just looked at you and said, no. And you said, great, you're grounded. And then they snuck out the window. So you took their car keys and they got a ride from a friend. And nothing you did, no punishment, no threat, no consequence, changed their behavior. That's what authoritarianism looks like when it stops working. And it's exactly what's happening in your store with your youngest employees. They're not looking for someone to tell them what to do. They're looking for someone to show them how to grow. And today, I'm going to show you the difference between those two and why it matters more than anything else that you're going to do this year. 7 minutes, one truth, one execution move. And if you're a leader who's struggling with authoritarianism, struggling with compliance, can't get your people to do the things you need them to do, especially those younger employees, you're in the right place. I'm Chris Hunsicker, and this is the Dealership War Room. This isn't motivation. This isn't theory. This is a daily leadership briefing for people who actually have to produce results in the arena, at work and at home. You're in the war room now, so let's go. There's a concept in psychology called self-determination theory. And it explains more about why your younger employees do what they do and don't do what they do than any management book you've ever read. Here's the short version. There are two types of motivation that actually last. The first is intrinsic motivation. This is where someone does something because it matters to them, not because you told them to, not because there's a bonus attached to it, but because it aligns with something that they care about. The advisor who stays late to make sure a customer gets the right answer, not because the manager is watching, but because it's who they are. That's intrinsic motivation. The second one, and this is the one most managers have never heard of, is called identifier regulation. This is a fancy way of saying your willingness to do things that you don't want to do, but you do them because you know they're good for you, like exercise. Nobody wakes up at 5 a.m. excited to run, but you do it because you've identified that as being healthy matters to you. And you regulate your desire to stay in bed because the thing you're chasing is more important than the discomfort. Both of these come from the same place, a personal why, not your why, not the company's why, theirs. And the leader who can reconnect someone to their own why in the interview, in onboarding, at the end of the month, that leader doesn't need to manage behavior because their focus is how do I unlock it? So here's the shift. The old model says, tell them what to do, reward them if they do it, punish them if they don't. And if you're a rat in a lab, that's great. That's authoritarianism. And it produces short-term compliance and long-term resistance. We covered that on Tuesday last week with the warmth standards matrix. The new model says, find out why this matters to them, connect the work to that reason, and mentor them towards the version of themselves that they're trying to become. Elicit that motivation. That's mentorship. And it produces long-term engagement, loyalty, and performance that doesn't require your constant supervision. Here's the practical application. In every interview, every onboarding conversation, and at the end of every month, ask 2 questions. What matters most to you about this job? Beyond the paycheck. That's their intrinsic motivation. And then number 2, what's something hard that you're willing to do because you know it's good for your career? That's the identifier regulation. When you know the answer to those 2 questions, you have the key to that person's motivation, not a generic key, their key. Every coaching conversation from that point forward starts by reconnecting them to what they told you. Hey, remember when you said you wanted to be someone your daughter could be proud of? That's what we're building here. And the thing I'm asking you to do today is part of that. That's mentorship, and it changes everything. Now, let me kill something that's been dead for a decade, but nobody's buried it yet. The hamburger feedback method, right? Compliment, criticism, compliment. 1978 called, they want their feedback model back. And here's what happens when you try the hamburger, especially on a Gen Z employee. They smell it from a mile away. The moment you open with a compliment, they're already bracing for the criticism. They're not hearing the praise. They're scanning for the hit. When are you going to nail me? And by the time you close with the second compliment, they don't believe a word of it. And they shouldn't, because the whole thing feels insincere. And if there's one thing this generation will not tolerate, it's insincerity. They can handle you being an idiot. They cannot handle you pretending that you care when you don't. So what replaces the hamburger? Meaningful feedback, consistent, specific, connected to their growth, not your frustration. Here's the data. Gallup found 80% of highly engaged employees said one of the main reasons they were engaged is because they receive meaningful feedback at least every 7 days. Not once a quarter, not at the annual review. Every 7 days, someone who leads them is giving them specific, meaningful feedback about their work, connected to their why, delivered with mentorship and not judgment. That's the standard. And I got to tell you, a lot of managers right now, they're not even close. So here's today's execution move. I call this the why reconnect. Pick one person on your team, ideally one of your younger employees. Before the end of this week, have a 5-minute conversation. Not about performance, not about numbers, about them. Ask them 2 questions. 1, what matters to you most about working here beyond the money? And listen, really listen. And question 2, what's one thing that's hard for you right now, but that you're committed to doing anyway because you know it's worth it for your goals and your dreams? And write down what they say, because what they just told you is their motivational blueprint. Every conversation you have with that person from this day forward, every piece of feedback, every coaching moment that you have, every hard truth can be anchored to what they just gave you, their motivation blueprint. You don't manufacture their motivation, you discover it. And now you can lead from it instead of pushing against it. And if you know a manager who's still using the hamburger method, still wondering why their young employees just tune out their feedback, send them this episode. The old model is dead. This is what replaces it, because elite leaders don't tell their people what to do. They reconnect people to why they're doing it in the first place. And when someone is connected to their own why, you don't have to push them. They pull themselves. That's mentorship. That's the kind of leader that you're becoming. And tomorrow, I'm going to give you 4 specific tools for keeping this generation engaged every single day, including one that a school district used to teach resilience in TikTok format. So today, go out, create some leadership fire, and I'll see you tomorrow in the Dealership War Room.